the president generated a great deal of controversy when he said that there were definitely MS-13 and other elements, ISIS elements, within the 7,000, he says as much as 10,000, as many as 10,000 migrants who are making their way here to the United States from all points, South America, like Guatemala and Honduras, El Salvador. But there was simply no way, and we've seen no way to verify the fact that there were MS-13 elements or anything approaching that. The president even said there is no proof of anything, which seemed to remove any of the doubts there might have been about the veracity of that statement. But we have simply not heard separate confirmation of any such thing, that there were elements like that within the 7,000 to 10,000 migrants who are making their way to the United States. So much has been said about the makeup of this caravan and who's in it, who's not in it. I told you about the three countries in question, that they are largely those three. Some Mexicans could be added. There is an obligation, the president says, to make sure that there's a due process there. He did say, as is the case, that we allow many into this country in the latest period, better than 1.16 million the legal way. This is not the way to go about it, that these are stress cases that would be taken on an individual basis. The legal requirements are, once those seeking asylum status come into the United States, their paperwork is processed. The rap you hear from critics of this system is that ultimately they're given a date to come back and return to court and state their asylum case. But by that time, they've long skipped town and they are in the United States. Now, another idea that has been bandied about, that the president didn't touch on it here, but one idea that's been approached is that maybe the Mexicans hold them until they are cleared or their court dates are cleared. That's a leap. But again, I want to stress here, there has been no independent confirmation of some of these migrants being terrorists or certainly parts of MS-13 or any other nefarious elements. There's simply no way to prove that. The suspicions notwithstanding, suspicion isn't good enough. And as the president said, I thought this was a takeaway, there is no proof of anything, which is not exactly a reassuring comment to make when you make a charge like that. Having said that, WALID PHARES says whether there are such elements within that group or not, the question is and becomes such a large group coming to our border and how we deal with that. And that is a problem, right, WALID?
It is a problem, of course, the sight of it and the thinking about it, what to do about it. This is not individuals coming through our borders and then we need to do some vetting, and that alone is a headache. This is a super headache. Why? Because in security assessment, it's not the judicial clearing. A judicial clearing, yes, did you have any evidence that this person is M13 or MS-13 or Hezbollah or Al-Qaeda? No. But in security assessment, you have to look at the trends, and there are multiple trends here. Number one, that all these gangs across the Central America area, plus in addition to that, the cartels have tried before for many, many years, and we have established there are hearings in Congress, so the trend is there. Number two, the vice president said something very important. He said, we have information from our allies in Central America that the Venezuelan regime, with whom we are in conflict right now over many, many things, has been participating in pushing for this demonstration. That I will stop. Say, wait a minute. The Venezuelan regime, that is not assessment. This is now information we're talking about. And Venezuela has an alliance with Iran, has an alliance with Hezbollah. So this is how the security assessment will say we need to make sure that we are secure.
Just getting it on a whisper and a QT from some allies doesn't make it so, WALID, right? I mean, this is not a new thing where caravans of people have tried to come in and using their sheer numbers to try to walk through, to think that they have to be inspired or brought on by nefarious elements. Well, that might indeed be the case. We still don't have the proof of that, do we?
I don't think I'm in a position to say that we have the proof or not. Our intelligence agencies, the counterintelligence agencies, are the ones who should be actually inside the demonstration. That's why you felt hesitation on behalf of the president and the vice president to go into the details. But in their security assessment, I imagine that they have asked this question to our intelligence community, and I imagine that some answers were made available.
All right. Well, we can hope that's the case. WALID, in the meantime, you might be of the impression, hearing all this, that we're shutting down the borders of this country, when in fact we have been averaging anywhere from 1.1 to 1.2 million legal immigrants into this country, going through the legal methods. per year, every year, and that has continued under the Trump administration. It's actually accelerated a little bit. So I think sometimes there is the misnomer out there that we're shutting down the border. But I'm wondering, from your vantage point, does this give an image that we are just trying to police people we don't want, or people who are doing it the wrong way? What do you think?
Look, my friend, I have been a legal immigrant. That's how I came to the United States. I was not born here. So thousands and thousands of people like me came and come every day to the United States. That's the normal thing. What we are looking at here is an organized movement which basically is not heeding the advice or the instruction of, let us do the right thing, the vetting, let us clear out things. They want to get to the border and cross that border and prove a political point, an ideological point. That is suspicious. Had this movement, for example, accepted the notion of a UN-sponsored humanitarian zone north of Guatemala or south of Mexico, many recommendations were made in that direction. The organizers refused. So they don't have a human...
I just want to be clear, this caravans themselves are groups of people with the same goal of getting to the United States or into Mexico in this case. That is not new. But obviously there's a little bit more emotion and heat attached to it these days, but that is not a new development. We've seen it before.